Hello, beautiful people. How are you today? It is May 27th, the weekend after the Monsanto March, or shall I say, March Against Monsanto's March. Now, we are living in history, and it's a beautiful time to be alive. Now, what I mean by living in history is every day, if you don't understand it, we have the ability to make history. And everything that we do, everything that we say, every small thing, every big thing, only God knows how it affects the future. This is why I do these videos. I do these videos for the people that think the same way I do and that see the same things I see. For all the other people, I'm not asking you to understand me. I'm not even asking you to agree with me because simply you've never lived my life. So don't judge me. Only God has the right to do that. And you're not God. No one is. So, Monsanto's is going down as the most disputed company throughout all of history, because never throughout all of history has there ever been a company that has had a global march like what happened on the 25th against that company. That is history, people. It was beautiful and incredible. Now, when you look into the company Monsanto's and their biological geoengineering of food and the pure abomination of it, the question is, you should ask why, and you should ask, what's it doing to me? What's it doing to the earth? And what's it doing to my kids and future generations? And ultimately, what is it doing to humanity? And the world stood up on the 25th and said, look, we know what you're doing. We don't want it. The kids don't want it. We don't want your products in our grocery stores. We don't want Monsanto's fields. China burned Monsanto's fields. Bulgaria burned Monsanto's fields. It's becoming a huge trend. Never before has such a multi-international company been so big and based around food. Never has there ever been a company to ever do what they've done. And never throughout history has a company ever been disputed against so much. So I pray to God people have woke up to what is going on, which majority still of the general public still has no idea because they still buy Kellogg's and cornflakes and all of, those geo-engineered foods like Frito-Lay, etc. So one thing that I want you to understand is the possibility of what they're doing to our air, that is the air that we breathe, with chemtrails. Now the fact is they're doing things to our food and they're doing things to our air. Why? Well, it leads you to think that maybe they're trying to geoengineer something or make the air and make the food more edible for something else other than human, because chemtrails are killing us, GMO foods are killing us, and these are facts. So what if there is something else out there that they're trying to feed and that they're trying to help live? Well, I've seen a few videos about my hypothesis that I'm about to talk about. And what I want you to understand is the American government has been cloning for a very long time. They have been able to clone humans since they brought the Nazis over to the United States to work at NASA, to work at secret bases in San Antonio, to work in underground bases in secrecy, where they continued these experiments. One fact is the Nazis did perfect vertical lift with the Nazi bell and brought that over to the US and NASA has clearly lied to us about its space program, because the facts are you can go on the internet and look up the Nazi bell and see that the Nazis perfected this kind of UFO even before they came to America. It's called the Nazi bell. So, it's a fact that these scientists that were working on the Nazi bell knew of this technology, because this technology can also be explained, it can be built, and that was a very long time ago. And now we're in 2013, and the world cannot fathom what the American government has in secrecy. So basically what I want you to understand is what I've been led to believe, and what shows like the X-Files have tried to tell the public. Even 9/11, the X-Files tried to tell the public about 9/11. Like, I think it was, a year before it happened, they aired a show with planes flying into Twin Towers. So the X-Files actually came from a little 14-year-old girl here in Houston, Texas, and she entered an essay contest, and the prize was winning a ticket to Washington to meet the president, and to get her story turned into a movie, and that movie, became the X-Files, the show. So again, that was from Houston, Texas, right outside of NASA. So what I want you to understand is the government can clone. They do have UFOs. And basically, if you know the CIA tactics and what they do to people, they kill people. And they replace people. And they do it very well. But one of the things that they do show in movies is that they do give plastic surgery to people. They do teach people how to sound like people, teach other people about other people's lives, and everything that they do, teach them everything about their family. So when they have their mole in, that mole takes out kills a specific person, and then they push in their duplicate. You've seen this in very many Hollywood movies. And in actuality, it can be done. Russia does it. The US does it. They've been doing it for a very long time, since the Cold War. So one of the things that I haven't seen in movies is the US government, the CIA, which has the ability to clone humans. And no telling how far they've gone with this. They have the ability to actually do this. But the fact of the matter is, I know our government is always looking for a fast solution, a quick fix, a speedy way to do things. And that is the fastest way to grow a human being. Because they can't wait to have somebody that's, 25, 30 years old. If they want to kill somebody, they can't wait 35, 20 years. So what I suspect is they have hyper ways of growing up clones to the age and the way they need them to be, training them and teaching them with technology that they don't talk about, like free energy, like technology like H.A.R.P. It's a weather weapon. Technology they don't talk about. So another thing that I like to reiterate is one of the things that my uncle told me He was the senior administrator of the Five Star Trust. He's dead. That is the bank of the CIA. He was exposing too much, and he was telling people close to him too much, people like me and other family members and friends. One of the things that I'm about to tell you is a subject that I've tried to find all over the net, and it's one of the least researched and talked about subjects. And that is the seed oil deposits in the United States. What I mean by seed oil is seed oil has been in the ground for so long, it is naturally refined. You don't need to ship it somewhere to be processed. That cuts down on the price of it, and it can be sold $2.50 to $3 a barrel. The United States has some of the hugest seed oil deposits in the world, and the U.S. government knows this. So what they have done since 9/11 is they have set up establishments, buildings, fake buildings. What I mean by fake buildings is 2-story, 4-story buildings, even homes. Gone in and taken people's homes and started drilling up under these homes to actually get to this oil and take it right out from the community without actually the people having any idea of what they're doing. Now, under the land over near NASA, Galveston, the land that I'm recording this on, the land over where Astroworld used to be, a lot of seed oil deposits have been said to be there. I was told this. I have no proof of it because I don't have access to machines like H.A.R.P. But the fact of the matter is, they did tear down Astroworld and Waterworld. And if that owner knew, what's on that land is worth more than any amusement park. So basically what our American government is doing is they've gone around the country and set up all these places that started taking the oil from the ground without telling the community and the people who own these homes that have a right to this oil to sell it and a right to the land. Supposedly the underground system under the United States stretches miles and miles, and some people say all throughout the United States. Why? Because they're refining oil, stealing oil, using it for something, or maybe storing it. Only God knows. But the fact of the matter is the U.S. is in Saudi Arabia and the Middle East trying to control the oil with the Saudis, and the Saudis are heavily invested into the United States with the Bushes and the Freemasons, and they know this. And they know if the America got aware of this and started digging for seed oil on their own property, and oil you can take right out of the ground and put in your car, and start doing the same for their neighbors, and this got out, the whole energy oil crisis is completely over. Saudi Arabia, Middle East, we don't need your oil. Fuck off. But instead, they've created this underhanded way of continuously destroying and stealing from Americans, just like the IRS is doing right now. What I mean by the IRS, everyone knows about the IRS scandal. Well, the IRS is responsible for single-handedly destroying more lives in America than any other establishment, simply because the IRS enforces a law that is a law that says we should pay tax on our work. See, people don't understand that. Now, let me say this again. Wrap your head around this. We pay taxes on our work. Does that truthfully make any sense to you? So I'm going to go outside, do some gardening, work all day, and maybe it's for my neighbor. My neighbor pays me, say, $100 for that day for setting up their yard, and the government tells me that since I worked all day in my neighbor's yard and set this up and this and this and this, legally I have to pay them taxes because it's work that I did. See, Americans really don't understand this, and they just do it. This law never existed. So the IRS has ruined more lives, destroyed more families, and single-handedly destroyed this country more so than any other establishment. And right now with the IRS Obama Benghazi scandal, well, I just pray to God the Iran-Contra / Mina, Bush, Clinton, cocaine, heroin, trillion-dollar drug smuggling scandal finally comes to the surface. Because that was in effect before Clinton even got into office. Why do you think Clinton got into office? They made him president to silence him about Mina in Arkansas. They were bringing in trillions and trillions of dollars of cocaine and heroin from third world countries, and then starting things like the Iran-Contra scandal because they were trying to control the drug trade and setting up rebels and arming them and funding them, like the whole Benghazi, Obama, Al-Qaeda, 9/11 scandal is. They don't do anything new. So then when you get into the seed oil scandal, and what they've been doing is building these 2-story and 4-story buildings all over the United States that go, hundreds of feet underground and under communities where seed oil deposits are, and coming into communities and possibly killing people and replacing them with clones that need GMO foods, clones that need that chemtrail air so they don't deteriorate and start getting sick, but we do. Clones that they hyper grew. What I mean by hyper grew is they grew a 30-year-old person or a 50-year-old person in a matter of a month or two. This is unnatural. So again, this is geoengineering. This is what Monsanto's and companies like Monsanto's do. So I know Monsanto's is very top secret about all the stuff that it does. And I wouldn't put it past Monsanto's if they have a secret government, shadow government contract where they do cloning. I mean, they clone genes. That is the basis of cloning. They can take a fish gene and put it in a strawberry gene, and they admit to this. So what's stopping them from taking somebody's genes, their own DNA, and growing it? It's what Monsanto's does, people. Wake up. They just say and legally admit that they do it with food. And that food that they're giving us, that they do this with, is poison to our system. But what if Monsanto's created a clone product of hypergrowth that is in our community, that you work with, in even some of our homes, and you don't know it, and they need this GMO food and chemtrail air so they don't deteriorate? So wrap your head around that, and food for thought. If you can find any information on the seed oil deposits around the United States, there were a few articles online about it, but they've disappeared. All the stuff on YouTube that was about it a few years ago, that's disappeared. But the fact of the matter is they're building all of these underground facilities all over the United States, and they're being heavily funded. Why and who is doing it? Well, the government. They're stealing again, right out of our pockets. And then we're going and paying high price, overcharged overseas gas prices when we have the largest seed oil deposits right here in the United States, all throughout New Mexico, all throughout Texas? It's insane, people. This is one of the subjects nobody talks about. They don't want anybody to look at. They don't want anybody to question because they spent so much money to rip and strip and rob America blind. Stay blessed. Walk in the light. Have a good day. Thank you for your time.